Something which we've talked about a bit on the program in recent weeks in particular, in response to the census which says that more people don't believe than believe in New Zealand for the first time. And a particular challenge for the churches is staying engaged with young people so that they don't sort of drift away when they hit intermediate school, that we go on to help them engage with their faith at a personal level, not just their parents' faith. Somebody who has both done the research and a practitioner in this area is Zara Maslin from Laidlaw College. Zara, kia ora, good morning.
Kia ora, Andrew. Lovely to be back with you.
It is a challenging time for many churches, and not only less people in our churches, but those that are there tend to be older. It is difficult to engage with young people on anything, really, but some examples of churches doing this right?
Yeah, I think young people anyone in churches, it doesn't take long to be able to see that the hairs are getting grayer and the
Yeah.
people filling the pews are getting older. To be fair, I've been attending the Christchurch Transitional Cardboard Cathedral for the last year, which is due to just weird life circumstances. But the congregation is not young there.
Yeah.
I think my kids bring down the average significantly,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't take a genius to see that it's not impossible for the church to just die out, you know?
Yeah.
And I think being able to integrate young people into the church is essential if we're going to look at the longevity of Christians in Aotearoa, really.
When it comes to, I suppose, engaging with young people, there's the sort of process of saying, hey, if you bring your kids along to church, there'll be, a children's church program, or what they used to call Sunday school, and Bible stories get you so far down the line. But when it comes to, I think perhaps intermediate age, when they start asking the questions, when they start to individuate, when they start to look for their place in the world, nothing against the Bible, but Bible stories aren't necessarily going to cut it, right?
Yeah, I think Sunday school probably started out as more of like a daycare
Yeah.
type thing so
Yeah.
that parents can go and have their faith nurtured. And there are definitely some churches who are doing that fantastically in terms of children's ministry. And I'm lucky that every so often I dabble in other churches just to make my cathedral life bearable. I'm lucky to be the recipient of some of those amazing kids programs.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. It's around the individuation age, kind of around pre-teens, early teens, that young people, well, we know that young people drop off from church during times of transition.
Yep.
And so we have developmental transitions going on in young people's brains.
Yep.
We also have like school transitions going on, moving from intermediate to high school, and then from high school into, I don't know, university or young adulthood, whatever that brings, the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the times when young people really drop off. And I think one of the best ways that we can get young people to stay in church is by having them involved.
Yep.
And that's what the research says as well. It says if your young person is just attending, then chances are at some point they'll get sick of attending and they won't anymore, especially as they get more independence and it's, they don't have to go to church anymore.
Yep.
But I guess the question is, how do we get young people involved in churches, not just in a tokenistic way,
Mm-hmm.
but in a way that has them truly, really involved and deeply rooted into a community of loving, beautiful Christians.
I mean, this is true of adults as well. If you're rostered on to do something at church, the chances of you turning up
You're
are
far
higher.
more likely to go, aren't you? Yes.
Exactly. But particularly for young people as they're looking for their place, for the role that they play in society, if they have, if they are interested in music, can they be part of the worship team? If they've got more of a technical bent, can they understudy on the sound desk? If they're always on social media, then perhaps the church needs somebody to do the social media for the church community. There's lots of opportunities to serve.
Absolutely. And I would say all of those things are great ideas, and I see those things happening across the board in different churches. But I also would say, let's push it even further.
Mm-hmm.
There's a term called whai wahitanga, which
Mm-hmm.
is used in secular youth work circles and in faith-based youth work places, but the term whai, it's a te reo Māori term, whai wahitanga. Whai means the pursuit or the chase, or to search for something.
Yep.
Wahi is your place or the opening or the breakthrough. So wahi wahi or whai wahitanga is to chase your place or search for somewhere to participate.
Yep.
Not just take part, but have a part. That's what whai wahitanga means.
Mm.
And I kind of have been thinking, like, what does it mean to bring that sort of mentality into the church? What does it mean for young people to chase their place or find their calling or pursue their part to play in a church community context? It's kind of exciting when you reframe it like that, right? It's not just saying we want you to be involved. It's saying we want you to participate and actually contribute something really meaningful.
It is an exciting way of reframing it, because I think part of the individuating process is pushing back against, oh, look, I'm no longer just a child of my parent. Okay, these are the things that my parents do. Maybe I should be involved in other things. And that, I think, is perhaps one of the push or pull factors that happen with children leaving our churches. But if they've got their own thing, if they've got their own reason for belonging, which is independent of who their parents are and their parents' faith and connection and relationships, then that glue's going to be stronger.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And so I think having young people involved in, like what you're saying, like doing sound and visuals, or being on the worship team or helping with morning tea or putting out chairs or whatever it is, of course that's going to help. But I wonder, what does it mean to, because those are, you're participating in a community, but you're not really like, you're part of a cog in a wheel, but where are you really like getting to have your own signature on something, and so I would challenge the church on, you can have young people in your worship team, or you can have young people leading your worship team, or you can have young people doing a Bible reading in a service, or you can have young people preaching in a service. There's kind of that next level up, and it kind of makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable, to go like, oh, do we really want young people doing that? It's easy to say like, yeah, we've got young people helping serve on our Sunday school or creche team, but what about having young people lead the team of volunteers or plan the curriculum for the creche?
A little bit more risky, but hey, with risk comes reward, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I pitched at the Laidlaw's Centre for Church Leadership Abide conference this past week. I pitched, why not have young people on your church eldership? What would that look like? And that really made some people kind of squirm. And I guess the question is, why does that make you feel uncomfortable? What is it? Because they're not going to be on their own. It's not, it's not like you're putting one young person in charge of a whole entire church governance. But really having their perspective would be really valuable. That would be an incredible experience for them. We're not going to leave them hanging out to dry. Like Paul in 1 Timothy, there's that lovely verse of don't let people look down on you because you're young. Paul is doing this by example, right? He's saying, hey, you can do this. You can set an example. You can participate, be a part of it. You're a young up and coming leader. I'm not leaving you hanging out to dry though. I'm here to help you. I'm writing you letters from prison, for goodness sake.
Exactly.
So we can do that as well. And I think, one, the experience of what they're getting involved in, and two, the support that we wrap around them. Why would young people leave the church if they're really getting that kind of attention and opportunity to contribute to something?
Something which is, again, also I think important in this context is the value of genuine relationship. The Christian faith is about relationship with Jesus ultimately, but the way in which we connect with each other. And one of the challenges, depending on the size of the church or the ages and stages of where you are in terms of church growth, a problem that can sometimes happen is going, okay, let's get all the children, all the young adults and the young people, and let's categorize them by age and gender, and then let's move them off to another room where they just get to know each other, and maybe there's a vaguely responsible leader who's in charge of that group. Rather than relationships being intergenerational, rather than there being relationships with the older people in church and the younger people in church, genuine community, intergenerational relationships, again, that's stronger glue than just, goofing off with my mates in the back of the youth group. I've just had flashbacks to that, actually.
Absolutely. I think there's definitely I think there's definitely a time and a place for siloed ministries.
Yes.
And it's nice that youth can have a youth service, for example.
Yeah.
Kick all the oldies out and you can have the church to yourselves from 7 p.m. or whatever.
Yeah.
But also I think there's far more value, because then, the same thing happens, right? Those people get older and graduate.
Yeah.
Or older and move on, and that service dies, I suppose. And if there's no integration right from a young age, then you're just going to keep graduating from something. People will swing from siloed ministry to siloed ministry. But really what we need is something that, it's like that family unit, I think God created families in a family unit kind of way. We all have different things to offer. There's a youth work and youth ministry legend named Phil Trotter, and he talks about the different roles in youth ministry. You have the brother or sister, you're young like they are.
Yep.
You have the parent, you have the auntie. I go by cool auntie specifically. And then you have the parents or the grandparents. And you have these people who are involved in a young person's life. And of course, they're contributing different things at different times.
Yes.
But the value of having that family unit, and the church is one of very few places I can think of that offers an intergenerational context like that.
Yeah, totally. And I think the example that you gave of Paul and Timothy, very much a intergenerational mentoring relationship. It is about, hey, coming alongside and saying, hey, here's some things that I'm doing, and here's some instruction and some guidance, but also pushing them forward and saying, look, this you're not just the understudy to what I'm doing. God has called you for your own ministry and for your own purposes and for your own relationship and service. And having those mentor relationships across the generations, very important for a healthy church and for not just the young people, but for the whole congregation.
Absolutely. And, I think Jesus actually did a pretty good job of that as well.
Yeah. Perhaps no surprises there. Hey, Zara, thank you for the work you do. Thank you for a great conversation. Thanks for being on the program once again.
Thanks heaps, Andrew.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.